Hey everyone! Today I'm super excited to talk about the first episode of Fallout, which I just watched on Amazon Prime. As you know from my last video, I'm currently in the middle of production on my latest feature, Contamination, but I had to make time to check out this series. Not to age myself, but I'm one of those gaming geeks who remembers playing the original when it first dropped on PCs back in 1997, and since first taking on the mantle of the Vault 13 Vault Dweller, I spent countless hours exploring the post-apocalyptic wastelands in Fallouts 2, 3, and 4, as well as spin-offs in New Vegas and Fallout 76. So if you're like me, you're probably wondering how the show stacks up and if it's a return to old-fashioned storytelling. Well, I've got you covered. As always, grab your popcorn and let's get started. The story kicks off with a bang, literally, as we see a Los Angeles that's at once futuristic and reminiscent of 1950s America, suddenly ravaged by nuclear war, leaving the survivors to fend for themselves and what's left of it, some in specially built underground vaults and the rest in the outside world. The show doesn't yet establish how the vault dwellers came to live in the relative safety of their impenetrable homes, but it lets us know right away that they've been doing so for about 200 years after the bombs first fell. We're introduced to three main characters: a determined vault dweller named Lucy, a military trainee called Maximus, and a charismatic ghoul carving out his piece of a world that shuns him. The trio's dynamics bring a refreshing mix of grit, humor, and depth to the story, making me root for them pretty much right from the start. The show also sticks close to the feel of the games, focusing on survival, exploration, and the human condition in a world that's moved on from civilization as we know it, with a couple of twists thrown in for good measure, showing that this show is ready to chart its own course in the Fallout universe. Now here's what I thought worked. The characters are great, with each protagonist bringing a unique set of strengths and flaws to the show. As a blend of the game's lone wanderers, Lucy is the audience surrogate, as she's forced to undertake a rescue mission outside the confines of her vault, the only place she's ever lived and never left, creating an intriguing hook that finds us discovering the wastelands along with her. It's a clever way to inject exposition where it's needed, as her character typically asks many of the same questions we do. What's more, she's quick-witted and likable, with a backstory that hints at a loss that drives her, adding layers to what looks to be a well-written character. While her resilience is evident by the end of the episode, her naivety and innocence stand to put her in danger moving forward. Either way, she's a pretty riveting character to follow. Then there's Maximus, who seems the most true survivor in the show. Orphaned at an early age, he joined the Brotherhood of Steel, a paramilitary organization/religion in the Wastelands, which is dedicated to restoring civilization through scavenging old technology and good old-fashioned brute force. Shown as less skilled than the other trainees and somewhat of a coward, his struggle is the most complex on its face, and it'll be interesting to see his arc of growth and self-discovery. And finally, there's the ghoul, formerly an actor named Cooper Howard, who somehow survived the war 200 years earlier and lives on as a mutated bounty hunter. The start of the episode establishes him with a young daughter, but at the end of the first episode, she's nowhere to be seen. Cooper is the character I'm actually most looking forward to seeing develop. Not only is he played by the always awesome Walton Goggins, I mean, seriously, is there anything he isn't good in? But he provides a unique yet heart-wrenching perspective on the Fallout universe. As someone who's lived since before the war, he has first-hand historical insight and wisdom, and yet he gives off the vibe of a loner that simply doesn't care anymore. It'll be fun seeing if he can discover his old self through the course of this series. Now, what's interesting to me is that the theme of loss plays a part for each main character. Lucy loses both her loved ones and her home, and her quest is all about getting back the one thing that matters the most: her father. Maximus, on the other hand, experiences loss of belief and confidence. He lost his family long ago, and this surrogate one is all he has left. But he doesn't quite belong in their world of honor and self-sacrifice, especially when measured against survival. And finally, the ghoul portrays loss in its most existential form. Outliving everyone he once loved, his physical transformation symbolizes the ultimate loss, that of his humanity. Unlike Lucy and Maximus, whose losses propelled him into action, Cooper's loss manifests in cynicism and solitude. It remains to be seen if each one will regain some or all of what they've lost. And at what price? As far as the comparison to the video games, the biggest similarity is the atmosphere. The show nails the desolate yet oddly vibrant world of Fallout, from the iconic power armor to the dilapidated ruins of once great cities, and especially the look and feel of the vault. Likewise, the dialogue is a mix of dark humor and poignant moments that capture the spirit of the video game, quite well. It's got that Fallout vibe. A bit grim, yet surprisingly upbeat given the circumstances the characters find themselves in. And there are Easter eggs galore. From the iconic Nuka-Cola vending machines, to a Grognak the Barbarian commercial, to the blue jumpsuits of the Vault Dwellers, the attention to detail is really impressive. We even get to see a Pip-Boy in action, and even a slow-mo action scene that put me in mind of the VATS system in the game. And honestly, the Vault Dwellers in particular were what stood out to me the most in this episode. In the video games, they're often portrayed as naive yet resourceful, emerging into the wasteland with this mixture of awe and horror. The show captures this essence beautifully, but adds layers of complexity to their characters. They exhibit a more pronounced optimism and are clinging to these pre-war values reflective of Cold War era aesthetics and idyllic 1950s Americana. This adherence to the past is not just in their behavior, but really is also symbolized through the clothing, music choices, and even the technology they use. It's a deliberate contrast to the scavenged and improvised lifestyle of the people living outside the vaults. The Vault Dwellers, even 200 years post-nuclear war, serve as kind of living time capsules of a world that no longer exists. Their optimism and sometimes painfully positive outlook is both a source of comedy and poignancy within the show. It highlights their isolation, not just physically within the vaults, but culturally and, I guess, temporally from the rest of the world. It's an interesting blend of naivety, optimism, and dedication to a bygone era that sets them apart from their video game counterparts, who often quickly shed their old worldviews upon facing the wasteland's harsh realities. Lucy's evolution, even in this first episode, is, as I've said, one of loss, but also adaptation. Initially, her innocence somewhat shields her from the full brutality of the post-apocalyptic world, even when raiders raid her vault. However, as the layers of her naivety are stripped away by harsh realities, her refusal to carry on as before marks a pivotal shift in her character. Interestingly, this nuanced shift in Lucy's outlook is subtly symbolized by her choice of weapon when she leaves the vault: a tranquilizer gun. Opting for a non-lethal method in a world where violence is the norm really speaks volumes about her. Despite the losses and the hardening of her outlook, this decision indicates that a part of her still clings to that more innocent perspective, or at least to the hope of resolving conflicts without causing more loss of life. Lucy's choice embodies the delicate balance she tries to maintain between accepting this brutal new world and preserving a piece of her old self, the part that still believes in a less violent way. I love this juxtaposition between her new instincts and the remnants of her innocence, because it shows that even in a world stripped of civility, we can still try to stay true to ourselves. Overall, the first episode of Fallout is a great start to what promises to be an epic series. Old-fashioned storytelling places plot, character development, dialogue, conflict, and stakes above politics or agendas or the flavor of the day, and I'm glad to see it's found a home in Fallout. It stays true to the spirit of the beloved video games, while still paving its own path. And for me, that's what it's all about. Whether you're a diehard fan of the games or new to the Fallout universe, this show honestly looks to have something for everyone. I can't wait to see where it goes from here. But those are just my 2 cents. Give me yours. I'd love to hear what you think of Fallout and how you think it stacks up to the games. Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell to stay updated with the latest content. Until next time, stay creative.